Hi, it's Maija here with my September wrap-up, and those would be books 98 to 104 that I read this year. I read 1 science fiction novel, 1 mystery novel, and 5 comics in September, and as always I will leave timestamps in the description so you can skip to the reviews that you most care about. September was not a great reading month for me. Like I said, I only read 2 novels, and most of what I read was 3 stars, so not great, not bad, just sort of mediocre. From the library I got Revenant Gun by Yoon Ha Lee. This is the 3rd and final book in the Machineries of Empire trilogy, and this concludes the story of the undead tacticians Shuos Jedao and Captain Kelcheris. Now this book didn't feel necessary to me. I sort of hoped that the series would have been wrapped up in 2 books. The majority of this book didn't really grab me. I liked the idea of the new POV character a lot, but then I just wasn't really feeling it. I much preferred the first 2 books, with the first one being my favorite. I did like some of the POVs in this, but most of the plot felt, like I said, unnecessary, and I hoped it would have been wrapped up a bit quicker, so I gave this one 3 stars. Likewise, from the library I read Murder in Mesopotamia by Agatha Christie, and this is a Hercule Poirot book set in an archaeological dig somewhere in the Iraqi desert, and the story is told by this nurse who happened to be there when the murder occurred, and that is a big part of why I didn't like this book so much. The narrator was so aggravating that it took away much of my enjoyment. She was basically, ooh, foreigners with the weird habits all the time. I did like the actual resolution of the mystery. While I did guess who the murderer was, I didn't guess all the aspects of the mystery, and I gave this one 3 stars, maybe 2.5 for the racism. Moving on to the comics, the first that I read was this young adult magical girl series called Zodiac Starforce Volume 1 by The Power of Astra by Kevin Panetta and Paulina Ganucheau. So this is the first trade, and there are more. The premise of this is quite interesting, since at the beginning these high schooler girls who are magical girls have already defeated the great evil, and they haven't done any magical girling for a while. But in this one, of course, some new monsters and an old threat appears. And some of the girls are more excited to go back to being heroes than others. I mainly bought this because of Paulina Ganucheau's candy-colored art, but I did enjoy the writing much more than I expected. It was a lot stronger than in the other YA comic that I bought because of Ganucheau's art. It was the fantasy comic Another Castle, written by Andrew Wheeler, I believe. So I liked this one a lot more. So this is a series, but this first volume is a self-contained story, and it did feel quite rushed because it's only 4 issues for such an epic story. The trade has 4 issues and some sketches and art at the back, and 4 issues is a really short span to tell this story. I gave this one 3 stars. I bought this on sale from Comixology, and I think I will pick up the second one as well. And there's a romance between 2 girls in this one. Next I read House of Penance by Peter J. Tomasi and Ian Bertram, and this is a horror comic focusing on the Winchester house. You might know the story of Sarah Winchester, who believed that all the people who had been killed by Winchester rifles were haunting her, and in order to appease them she had to keep building her house. I think you can still visit the house, and that it has something like 160 rooms. This was a 6-issue miniseries, so this one volume collects the whole thing, and there are 2 main characters. There's Sarah Winchester herself, and then there's this man with a criminal past who comes to work at the house. I loved the art in this. It was perfect for a horror comic, and there were some really cool pages and page spreads that I would have loved to see in physical format, because I read the digital version that I bought from a Comixology sale. I think some of them might have looked really great spread out on paper, but the story was not quite on the level of the art, but it did have an atmosphere that kept me reading. I gave this one 3.5 stars with a 0.5 added for the art, and I had to give out a content warning for racial slurs in this one. Then from the library I read Be Prepared by Vera Brosgol, and this is a middle grade comic about the summer camp, and it's based on Brosgol's own childhood. And it's about this girl called Vera who really doesn't fit in with her friends at home, because of her Russian background and because of her single mother's income, which doesn't match the income of the other kids living in the suburbs. And then Vera has heard all the other kids talk about going to summer camps, and then she learns about this Russian summer camp and is excited to go there because she thinks it will be very easy to find friends there. But camp isn't what she expected, and once again Vera struggles to fit in. I enjoyed Vera Brosgol's Anya's Ghost a lot, especially the professional cartoony line work which exists in this one too. I believe she has worked as a storyboarder for animation before, and it shows. Because I liked Anya's Ghost, I picked up this one. And I still liked her artwork in this one, but I wasn't sure about the green tone in it. Like, it was black, white and green. Green was the one color that was chosen for it. I guess it fits well with the camp story. But I just wasn't a big fan of the green, and I hoped that it would have been just in black and white. But on the other hand, I do know that black and white art is a turn-off, I think, at the US comics market. So I understand the decision of incorporating some color. Now as to how I felt about the book. I have my own set of bad camp memories. So reading this was a bit more uncomfortable than enjoyable, so I couldn't sink into it and really enjoy it, and for that reason I only gave it 2.5 stars. And finally, from the library, I finished the contemporary manga series Princess Jellyfish by Akiko Higashimura. This I've read volumes 8 and 9 of the 2-in-1 omnibuses. And this completes the story of Tsukimi and her group of friends, the Amars, who are these underachieving geek women who all live in one house. And there's Kuranosuke, the cross-dressing boy who Tsukimi befriends at the very start of the series, and Shu, Kuranosuke's brother, and Tsukimi's love interest throughout the series. I like the ending, because it was left open-ended enough that I can incorporate my own headcanon and decide that my favorite couple ended up together sometime in the future. And of course I love the geek women friendships as much as at the start. They are a great cast of characters. I love a lot of them. I think Maija might be my favorite from Tsukimi's friends. And this is a manga series that has a lot of heart, but it's also laugh out loud funny at many points, and I highly recommend it. I gave volume 8 3.5 stars and volume 9 4 stars, but the whole series would get 4.5 stars from me. So that was everything that I read in September. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye!